Coming up on today's Philadelphia 76ers Now, a Joel Embiid eye update. He has Bell's palsy, just a crazy development in this first-round series against the New York Knicks, and Philadelphia able to get on the board with the victory at the Wells Fargo Center in South Philly with a great Game 3 victory. Joel Embiid, knee injury, Bell's palsy. He's suffering from some ailments. He's not feeling 100%. Still gave the Knicks 50 points in that Game 3. So type 50 down in the comment section right now. And with that, let's talk some Sixers on today's 76ers Now. I'm Chase Sr. Appreciate all of you for joining the show, no matter where you are or how you're tuned in. We appreciate you for making 76ers Now a part of your day. And we apologize for not going live for Game 3 for another watch party. We are live for the NFL Draft. We will be back on Sunday for Game 4 as Philadelphia looks to notch this series up at 2 games apiece. And when we were live during the draft, we got the notification, myself, producer Chip, the two faces of this show, and we saw this tweet from Adrian Wojnarowski. I looked at Chip, same studio, same spot, and I was like, are you seeing this right now? This is wild. Woj saying, according to ESPN sources, Sixers star Joel Embiid has been treated for a mild case of Bell's palsy for the past week. The condition began during the play-in victory over Miami, but he has wanted to keep it private to avoid distractions for his team. One more. There had been some speculation about why he had been wearing sunglasses and whether there was an issue with his eyes, but that was related to the Bell's palsy, which impacts facial muscles in one half of the face. Embiid still had 50 points in a Game 3 victory over the Knicks on Thursday night. And we had talked on the show about some of the reporting and some of the speculation from doctors on social media as to what was going on with Embiid's face. And we were kind of in front of this before anybody else about the partial paralysis in one side of the face. We were trying to make sense of it. As for what Bell's palsy is, a temporary facial paralysis which causes muscle weakness on one side of the face, which results in a droopy appearance. So Embiid started dealing with this in the aftermath of that play-in tournament game against the Miami Heat. And then in Game 1 against the New York Knicks, he takes that spill with the knee injury, and everybody with that camera angle, which went really close to his face as he was just laying hapless on the court, was like, what's going on? Left MSG with some shades on. Next day, shoot around. He's wearing shades still. And then during Game 2, he just didn't look all that right as far as his facial appearance. And he's admitted that he's been dealing with a lot. Here's what he had to say after the Game 3 dub. I don't know exactly what happened, but I guess that's a normal thing. I think it started a day or two before the Miami game. I had bad migraines. I thought it was nothing. Usually I don't like to check it out, but for some reason I ended up having to tell somebody. That's why that Miami game, my body, I was just not feeling it. It's pretty annoying with my left side of my face, my mouth, and my eye. It's been tough, but I'm not a quitter. Got to keep fighting, do anything. It's unfortunate. That's the way I look at it, but that's not an excuse. Got to keep pushing. It hasn't really necessarily gotten better just based on the conversations that I've had. It could be weeks. It could be months. I just hope that it could stay like this. I've got a beautiful face, so I don't like when my mouth is looking the other way. Like I said, unfortunate situation, but everything happens for a reason. I've got to take care of myself mentally. And as far as the mental health component of this, sometimes this can be due to stress. And when you're very stressed, it can lead to Bell's palsy. And Embiid even admitted that when he suffered the knee injury and he had to miss all that time, he had to get that surgery, he was in a dark spot. And he was dealing with some mental hurdles of not being able to play basketball. And he kind of likened the stress to maybe leading to the Bell's palsy because of everything that he's dealing with. Either way, Chip, crazy.
It's just so weird, and what's weird about this too is it's a type of injury, type of diagnosis where, as Embiid said, it could last a couple days, it could last a couple weeks, it could last months, it could last years. You really have no idea how long it lasts. You know, the treatment process, you know, it's so just dependent on, like, it just randomly will go away. Like, there's really nothing you can truly do to ensure that it stops. And look, it's got to be annoying to deal with on top of the knee, having to deal with, I don't know how that feels physically for him, having to deal with that one side of the face, like not really having the same movement as the other. I'm sure it's not fun. And I'm sure it's not something that he can just ignore while he's out in the basketball court. Obviously, he's still playing at a high level at 50 the other night, but just it seems every year, just the weirdest injuries happen to Embiid. Again, who knows why this happened? Maybe it's the stress, as you said. Look, hopefully it goes away and then he can get back on track here, because I just want to see this man at full strength, and right now, he's clearly dealing with a lot.
Yeah, for real. And you think about it, like, if I were to suffer from this condition and I'm on air every day and I'm in front of a camera for a living, I'd be sad. I'd be depressed. I'd feel a little bit weird, maybe even embarrassed a little bit, because I don't want to look that way either. Mouth drooping, eye drooping. And Joel Embiid, handsome fella, I imagine he woke up or started feeling like this. He looked in the mirror and he's like, what's going on? Also, why does this happen to good people? Like, Joel Embiid grows up in Cameroon. Then he comes to America, starts playing ball late, and it's so funny. He looked like a baby deer coming out of the womb, where he just didn't have his legs underneath him at first when he started his basketball career. He goes to Kansas. He questions why he's playing basketball. And then, that Kansas coaching staff, Bill Self, and the team, Joel Embiid wanted to quit, and they're like, you got to stay at it because you can be a top 5 pick. His brother Arthur passes away tragically a few years ago. He deals with all of these injuries. He's overcome those injuries to win NBA MVP. He's literally defied the odds. He's never been involved in any type of negative situation or any type of controversy. He's never involved in any legal battles. He just gets snake bitten every year by the weirdest injuries. Orbital fracture, a thumb injury during a game in which he had a buzzer beater against the Toronto Raptors, has to wear a mask, suffers from the knee injuries to start his career. It's the foot, it's the back. Why does this happen to Joel Embiid? And at some point, can he just get some good fortune for a little while so that we can see him maximize his basketball abilities and see him win a championship? Because if there's anybody deserving of it, it's him. If there's any fan base that's deserving of it, it's the 76ers fan base, which has been tortured for so damn long. Here's more on his diagnosis from Embiid. Every single year, you start asking yourself questions like, why? Every single year. It's very annoying. Maybe it's just meant to be. Just got to take it as it is. But the one thing I'm not going to do, give up, no matter what happens. Got to keep pushing. Got to keep fighting. Got to keep putting my body on the line for my family, for the city, for this team. I can't sit back every single time and feel bad for myself. Yeah, it goes through your mind, and you can ask yourself those questions, but what are you going to do about it? Are you going to quit, or are you going to keep going? The best thing you can do, the best job possible to prepare yourself every single day, which I've done, and sometimes you get the results, sometimes you don't, but if there's one thing I'll say about myself, it's that I'm not going to quit, and no matter what happens, if I win, if I don't, I just know that when I'm done, I'm going to be proud of myself, and my people are going to be proud of me. Love that from Embiid. It's very mature. It's very professional. It comes from the heart. It's unfortunate that in the social media driven world that we're in, you have people saying, this guy sucks. This guy's a fraud. He's always hurt. He stinks. Dirty player against the New York Knicks. And some of those moves and some of those sequences against the Knicks were a little bit borderline. But how about the dude just gutting it out? And he said this for the organization, for the city, for himself, for his family. I admire the strength. I admire the dedication. I admire the will to win for Embiid. And if the Sixers do lose this first-round series against the Knicks, I'm not going to be the one blasting Embiid. In fact, I'm going to relish us having an opportunity to witness and watch one of the most unique talents that we've seen in NBA history, certainly in this generation. And I just hope that he can get over the hurdle at some point because, man, that'll be something worth celebrating. Can you imagine a Joel Embiid championship parade and speech? That would be electric. Coming up next, we're going to recap Sixers-Knicks Game 3, a look ahead to Game 4 on Sunday. Again, we'll be live for another watch party. Don't forget to subscribe, lock us into the show. First, our sponsor for today's 76ers Now is Prize Picks, making daily fantasy sports so easy. You pick 2 or more players, you choose more or less on their projected stats, and you're guaranteed to win big-time money if you're able to hit on those picks, and you can win up to 25 times your money. To be precise, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS for a $100 deposit match. This is the largest independently run and most used daily fantasy sports app in North America. Our selections here that we like for some NBA playoff action Friday night, in particular this Clippers and Mavericks game, series locked up 1-1. Paul George, more than 20.5 points. Kevin Durant, 10.5 points and rebounds. We like the more there. That's for that Suns T-Wolves series with Minnesota up 2-0. And then Luka Doncic, more than 34 points. He was so clutch at the end of game 2. That dagger triple when Harden couldn't have defended him any better. Cold-blooded. Win big money. Withdraw your winnings. Pick more, pick less. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. $100 deposit match. What a win it was for Philadelphia on Thursday night. 125-115 over the Knicks. A massive third quarter for the Sixers offense, and the defense came to play, really dominated the Knicks in that third frame, and they were carried by Tyrese Maxey, whose shot making in this series, and in general all year for the casuals who don't know, has been stupendous. And then Joel Embiid making it rain from deep against the Knicks in this game, especially in that third quarter. 5 of 7 from beyond the arc for the night, 50 big ones, 8 boards, 4 assists. We finally saw Kelly Oubre Jr. break out and have a good game in this series. Unfortunately for him, involved in another car crash controversy once again, which allegedly happened on Tuesday night. We'll see what happens with that, but he finally got going offensively with 15, 7, and 3. Tyrese Maxey, 25 points, 4 rebounds, and 7 dimes. Jalen Brunson, as we predicted, because it was going to happen at some point, finally had his breakout game. He was excellent. 39 points, 13 assists. Josh Hart continues to shoot the lights out, playing in the familiar territory of the Wells Fargo Center with Villanova. Would play some of those big games, 20 points, 6 rebounds, 6 dimes. And then OG Anunoby hit a couple of big three-pointers, especially late, making that game a little bit close. 17, 4, and 2 for him. And it was just good for the Sixers to flush that game to heartbreaking defeat. One of the worst, most gut-wrenching Sixers losses that you will ever see. And they come back in front of the home crowd with a lot of Knicks fans, honestly, in South Philadelphia, making the joint loud, and they get that dub. I didn't like how the whistle maybe sided too much with Philadelphia at moments, and we even said that after the Game 2 loss. I'm like, I don't want to see this. I just want to see an evenly officiated series, but because of the officiating mishaps at the end of Game 2, they were going to go and overdo it and give the whistle to Philadelphia. I just want to see good basketball, honestly, and I truly believe this. With the way that these two teams are playing right now, this is a matchup that feels like an Eastern Conference Final Series. They look like the two best teams in the East, and now Philadelphia wins this game on Sunday. 2-2 going back to MSG.
Yes, sir. It's a series, man. It's a series. And a few of our keys to the game that we previewed before Game 3 really came true. You know, we said, one, Embiid has to be the best player on the floor at all times. Yep. I feel like Embiid looked the best he ever has, obviously with the 50, but in terms of just moving around, his confidence, his aggressiveness, he seemed to really be out there like, you know what, like, enough is enough. We're down 0-2. He said before the game we're going to win the series, and he came out and played like it. He came out and played like the best player in the world. But it wasn't just him. We also said the Sixers could not get out-hustled again. And, you know, they made it a very physical game, obviously. You know, we all saw what happened with Embiid and with Kyle Lowry getting the flagrant. But you know what? Honestly, you know, I'm not going to say I'm all for dirty plays and whatnot, but they needed to be aggressive. They needed to set the tone. Make a statement, baby. Yeah, they had to make a statement, exactly. And that's what happened. And we also said some other people besides Embiid and Maxey had to step up, and they were great. But you got a little bit more from Kelly Oubre. You got a spark off the bench from Cameron Payne.
Yes, sir.
You've been looking for a spark off the bench. Buddy Hield has been able to do that for you. Nick Batum hasn't really done too much, at least from a scoring output. He impacts the game in so many other ways. But Cam Payne comes in after not playing Game 2, gives you a couple threes, and helps ignite that big third quarter. So it was great to see. You also held some of the Knicks role players like Bojan Bogdanovic, Miles McBride, who had really killed you all series. You held them in check. Now, of course, Jalen Brunson went off. We said he was going to get his. Josh Hart continues to be tremendous and continues to knock down threes. And we saw OG Anunoby as well start to get his offensive game going. But regardless, look, Embiid carried this team to a win, really, really did. He was lights out from beyond the arc. And now you're one game away from making this an even series. I think you still are in a must-win situation, in my opinion, on Sunday. You don't want to go down 3-1 going back to New York. I feel like New York would be, with that crowd, pumped up to end that series in 5. But you know what? A big win, a lot you can take away from it. Hopefully Embiid's still healthy moving forward. Maybe DeAnthony Melton can come back. He was a game-time decision for Game 3, so we'll see how close he is.
Yep.
That'd be a big help. But look, definitely a lot more confidence moving forward now. Obviously, if they lost, it would have been over.
Would have been heartbreaking. I mean, just crushing. You want the Sixers to have a shot because they win this series. I believe that they can beat the winner of Milwaukee, Indiana, and that series is far from over. You mentioned campaign with the great quote from Kyle Neubeck, who tweeted this. And Neubeck tweeted out, by the way, his Howard Eskin rant to the Ether beat. Hilarious. Campaign with one of my favorite role player quotes of all time. Quote, energy costs nothing. Didn't even play game 2. Comes out in game 3 as a spark plug. And there's that saying, role players, bench players don't always travel. Philadelphia, now back home. Got a little momentum now. We'll be live. Sixers-Knicks, game 4 on Sunday. Our numbers have gotten better and better with every watch party that we've done. Play-in tournament dub. Games 1 and 2. Game 4, let's continue on that pace. We'll be live for a half-hour pregame show, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. I'm not going to lie. Chip and I are probably going to be like corpse level, right? We're live for 6.5 hours, night 1 of the draft. We're about to go live here, day 2 of the draft. We'll probably be live for the next 5+ hours, day 3 of the draft on Saturday. You just got to be built different out on these streets. Know what I'm saying?